Break this plant's stem, and white liquid bleeds out. That liquid can burn your skin. But inside that same sap, researchers found compounds that traditional cultures have relied on for over 2,000 years. This weed grows in your yard right now. 20 countries call it by different names, and getting them confused could be dangerous. But there's a reason healers on 3 continents refuse to pull it out. In West Africa and South Asia, grandmothers didn't have pharmacies. They had garden edges where this so-called weed grew undisturbed. The plant is called Euphorbia hirta, and its story doesn't begin in one place, it begins in 3. In West Africa, among the Yoruba and Igbo peoples, healers used this plant for respiratory ailments and wound care. They called it the asthma weed. In Nigerian English, that name still survives today, named after the condition it was believed to treat, by people who observed it for generations. Thousands of miles east, in India, Ayurvedic practitioners knew the same plant as Dudi, or Aman Pakarisi. They documented its traditional use for digestive and respiratory complaints in texts that predate modern medicine by centuries. And across the Atlantic, in the Americas, indigenous healers used Euphorbia species for skin conditions and ceremonial purification long before European contact. 3 continents, 3 independent healing traditions, the same plant, the same uses. That kind of convergence doesn't happen by accident. 3 cultures, 0 communication, the same conclusion. Something real is beneath the surface. But here is where the story takes a dangerous turn. Search Santa Lucia plant, online 20 results, 20 different plants. Some have blue flowers, some have white latex, some grow tall, some crawl along the ground. They share the same folk name, but they are completely different species. In Mexico, they call it golondrina. In Brazil, Erva Santa Lucia. In the Dominican Republic, Malcasa. In Venezuela, boqueta. And at least 3 of those names refer to different plants with different risks. Here is what you need to know. The plant we are talking about today, Euphorbia hirta, has small hairy stems, white milky latex when you break the stem, and tiny flowers close to the ground. But there is another plant called Santa Lucia, Camelina erecta, that has blue flowers, no latex at all, and belongs to a completely different botanical family. These 2 plants share a folk name, but share almost nothing else. And a third plant, Euphorbia prostrata, the golondrina, looks similar to our subject but grows flat against the ground with a different compound profile. This is not a naming problem. This is a safety problem. And understanding the difference is the first step to using traditional knowledge responsibly. Now that you know which plant we are talking about, let us talk about that white sap. When Euphorbia hirta is damaged, it bleeds a milky latex. This is the plant's defense system, evolved over millions of years to discourage insects and herbivores from eating it. Inside that latex, researchers have identified flavonoids, tannins, terpenoids, alkaloids, and phenolic compounds, a chemical arsenal built by nature for survival. And here is the paradox. The same compounds that can irritate your skin are the ones that show anti-inflammatory properties in laboratory studies. The defense system and the pharmacy are the same thing. Nature did not make a weed. It made a laboratory. The difference between medicine and poison has always been the dose. Traditional healers knew this long before pharmacology gave it a name. So what exactly did those researchers find when they put these compounds under the microscope? The first family of compounds to draw attention was the flavonoids, specifically quercetin. In West Africa, traditional healers applied leaf poultices directly to swelling and joint pain. They did not know the word quercetin. They did not need to. Generations of observation had taught them that this plant reduced inflammation. Centuries later, studies published in the journal Phytotherapy Research demonstrated significant anti-inflammatory activity in Euphorbia hirta extracts. The mechanism, inhibition of COX-2 and pro-inflammatory cytokines, a pathway that modern science also studies in the context of inflammation. Research suggests these compounds may help manage inflammation. Traditional healers used them this way for centuries. But let me be clear, this is not medical advice. This is botanical history. The science documents what was observed. It does not prescribe what you should do. Always consult your healthcare provider before exploring any traditional remedy. But the flavonoids were only the beginning. The second family of compounds, the tannins and gallic acid, tell an even more interesting story. In Nigeria and the Philippines, this plant earned a very specific name, asthma weed, not a generic folk name, a name that describes exactly what traditional healers believed it could do. When an entire country names a plant after the condition it is believed to treat, that represents 2,000 years of clinical observation, not in a laboratory, but in the field, not with controlled trials, but with generations of lived experience. The Journal of Ethnopharmacology published studies showing antimicrobial activity in Euphorbia hirta extracts, effective against several bacterial strains in laboratory conditions. These findings are promising but preliminary. Studies indicate potential, not proof of cure. The distinction matters, because in a world full of miracle claims, honesty is the rarest medicine of all. But here is what most videos about this plant will never tell you. The same latex that contains those promising compounds can cause skin irritation on contact. In the eyes, it can cause a condition called keratoconjunctivitis, a painful inflammation. Despite folk claims, you should never apply raw Euphorbia latex to your eyes. Ever. When handling this plant, wear gloves. If you are interested in its traditional uses, work with dried material, not fresh latex. The drying process reduces the most irritating compounds, while preserving others. And there are people who should avoid this plant entirely. If you are pregnant, nursing, or have liver conditions, traditional sources advise caution. The plant may also interact with diabetes medications. Any plant powerful enough to show activity in laboratory studies is powerful enough to cause harm. That is not a weakness. That is proof. It contains active compounds. Always consult your healthcare provider before using any traditional remedy. This video explores history and science. It does not replace medical advice. For decades, this plant was dismissed as a tropical weed. Gardeners pulled it, farmers sprayed it. Nobody thought twice. Then the laboratories caught up. In 2015, the Journal of Ethnopharmacology published a comprehensive review of Euphorbia hirta's traditional uses across 12 countries. The findings confirmed antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and anti-diabetic activity in laboratory conditions. In 2018, phytotherapy research isolated the quercetin and gallic acid compounds we discussed earlier and demonstrated dose-dependent anti-inflammatory effects. And in 2020, BMC Complementary Medicine published a systematic review that acknowledged, and I quote, significant ethnopharmacological potential. But the same review called for more clinical trials, more research, more rigor. Science doesn't say this plant is a miracle. It says it deserves more research, and that is more powerful, because it means the story is not over. The archive is still being written, and the next chapter may come from the very researchers reading these studies right now. But before we look forward, let us look back one more time. Traditional healers distinguished between preparations. This was not random. The most common method across cultures was dried leaf tea, air-dried leaves steeped in hot water, not boiled. Traditional sources used this for respiratory and digestive support. The drying process was important. It reduced the most irritating latex compounds, while keeping others intact. For external use, fresh leaves were crushed, always with hand protection, and applied as a poultice to skin conditions. Applied externally only. And here is something critical. The folk claim that this plant can help eye problems. Likely comes from a case of mistaken identity. Remember Camelina erecta, the blue-flowered plant we discussed earlier? That plant has a different chemistry entirely and a different traditional use profile. The name confusion we explored is not just academic. It has real consequences. We are documenting how traditional healers used this plant, not recommending you replicate it. If you are interested in herbal medicine, work with a qualified herbalist or naturopath. Your grandmother did not pull this weed. She knew something the modern world forgot. Every plant in the archive carries a story. This one story spawns 3 continents, 2,000 years, and a name confusion that still puts people at risk today. The most valuable plant in your yard might be the one you have been throwing away. We didn't make a miracle video today. We made an honest one. In a world drowning in health claims and clickbait cures, the most radical thing you can do is tell the truth. If you learned something today that changes how you look at your garden, share this with someone who still pulls every weed they see. Subscribe to the Green Archive, because forgotten knowledge only stays forgotten if no one passes it on. The next plant in the archive was banned by a king, removed from every garden in his kingdom, and it's still growing in your neighborhood. That story is next.